Hi, in this video we will give an overview of arrays in LabVIEW, how we can create arrays and how we can manipulate with arrays using the built-in array functions, and how we can use arrays in our applications. So arrays in general in any programming language is a very powerful things to use, and it can be used for many applications. So let's go to LabVIEW and give a short introduction to how we can use and create arrays in LabVIEW. So now I have opened or created a blank VI in LabVIEW. So here to the left we have the front panel where we create our user interface, and to the right we have the block diagram where we create our code. Let's start by creating a simple array in LabVIEW. Then we can go to our front panel, just right click, find the controls menu like this, and then you can click on array, matrix and clusters, and then in the upper left corner we have this array. You can just click on it and place it on the front panel, and so far we have just created an empty array. So the next is to define the data type we want to use. Typically we use numeric, but we can also use other data types. So let's right click once more and select a numeric control and just put it inside this empty array, and then suddenly we have created an array of numerics. And then you can also drag these small blue squares in order to see the elements inside the array, and then we can start entering some values: 2, 5, 6, 3, 8, 9, 2, 3, like this. So now we have created an array with numerics. We can also just see one element at a time, and then we can use this index. So now we see the index number or element number 0, and then we can click this arrow. So this is element or index number 1, 2, and then you see the value here for index number 2, index number 3, and the value, etc. Like this. In this case, this is an array of length 8, since you have start on 0 to 7, like this. But we can, as I showed you, we can also drag it like this to see all the elements. In this case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are empty, so those are not in use, so we can just have it like this. We can also create arrays of other data types. So if we start creating a new empty array like this, and then instead of numeric we can select string and a string control like this, and then you can drag it, and then we have an array of numerics. So here you can enter strings instead of numbers like this. So it could be any kind of strings. Like this. So it's the same here. We can drag it, just showing one element at a time, like this. We can also, if we want to use another data type on an existing array, we can just also drag it out like this, remove it, and then find, let's say, a boolean like this, drag it, and now we have an array of boolean, and then we can set them either to true, to false, true, true, false, etc. like this. And same here, we can use this index to browse through the elements in array. Next, we typically want to use the data inside the array in some calculations, etc. And then we can use many of the built-in functions in LabVIEW. So let's say we want to find the average value for these elements inside this array. Then we can use the built-in mean function. So let's go to mathematics. And find the mean function. So this is the built-in mean function. And put it on the block diagram like this. And then the output of this array will be the input of the mean function. And then the output here, we can just right click, create an indicator like this. And then now when we run the program, clicking on this arrow, LabVIEW will calculate the average value based on these elements inside this array. So most of the functions inside LabVIEW supports arrays, especially these functions in the mathematics palette is very handy to use when dealing with arrays, but also more ordinary functions like this numeric add, multiply, etc. also can be used together with arrays. So let's just use this add function, and assuming we have this array, and then you can just copy this array, just hold the control button down. So now we have two arrays, and then we want to add them together, and then we can use this add function like this. So the first input goes here, and the second input here. So since these are arrays, you see, compared to an ordinary numeric, a scalar value, you see these are much more thicker. The lines are thicker, meaning they are an array. So let's see now what's happening here on the output. We can just right click in order to create an indicator, and then you should have these two arrays as an input, and this array should be the output. And then let's try to run the program, and then you see by using this built-in addition function, we can use it for scalar, but we can also use it for arrays in this case. So see, 2 plus 2 is 4, 5 plus 5 is 10, 6 plus 6 is 12, etc. like this. So you can use most of the built-in functions in combination with arrays. We can also have arrays with different dimensions. So this is an one-dimensional array, but you can make a copy of it. And if you want a two-dimensional array, then you can just drag this index like this. And then suddenly we have a two-dimensional array. And then we can just drag it to see either a part of the array or the whole array like this. And then we can just enter some values. And then, so here we have a one-dimensional array, and then here we have a two-dimensional array. Typically, we also want to manipulate the data inside the arrays. And then we can use the built-in functions in the array palette. So here is the array palette on the block diagram, And then we have lots of functions we can use to manipulate the data within the array. So we can get the array size, we can get a specific element inside the array, we can replace a subset within the array, we can insert some new elements into an array, we can delete from the array, we can build arrays based on some inputs, we can get a subset of arrays, we can find the max and minimum values, we can sort the array, etc. We can also sort or search for a specific element inside the array. So all these functions are very handy to use together with arrays. So let's start with this array size. Then we have these functions, this one-dimensional array and this two-dimensional array. So let's start to use this array size function on this one-dimensional array, like this. Then we have this output, which is the size of the array. Then we can just right-click, create an indicator, which appears on the front panel. So let's run the program and see what's happening. And then it gives size 8 because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 elements in this array. Let's try to do the same functions on the two-dimensional array. So we can just copy it. Just hold the control button down while we drag it, like this. And then you see this tick line means it's an one-dimensional array. This specific type of line indicates it's an array of 2 dimensions. Then we can do the same here, right click on output, create, and select indicator. And then we can find the size of this. And you see, since this is a 2-dimensional array, and we can run it, we will get the size of number of rows, which is 3, and then we have 4 is number of columns. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is one of the functions. Another handy function to use is this index array. Let's use this one. So let's use this index array on this one-dimensional array. Just wire them together like this. And the other input here is an index, so you can just right click here, create either a constant or a control depending on what you want to do. In this case we just create a constant, and then in this case it will be index number 0, and then the output here now we can right click on it, create indicator, and let's run the program to see what's happening here on the output. So it's just showing the first value in this index number 0. If you change it to, let's say, 5 and run it, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it shows this the value of this index. So this function is very handy to use, and of course it can also be used for two-dimensional arrays. So next, let's try the delete from array function. So you wire the input here like this, and then we can delete either one element, or we can delete multiple elements. But let's start with one element, and then we just need to specify the index. So let's assume we want to delete this value. which is 0, 1, element number 1. And then the output here now will be this. If you just right click, create indicator. So the output here now will be a new array where we have deleted this value from the array. So 2, 6, 3, 8, 9, 2, etc. So it's the same array, but just with this value deleted. So another handy function to use is this build array. So assuming you have 2 arrays, it could be the same length or different length, like this. So array 1 is this and array 2 is this. And then let's use this build array function in order to build a new array with those 2 arrays together. So take this one in here, and then you can just drag this one in order to create a new input like this. And then on the output, just right click, create indicator. Indicates that we get a new, in this case, a new array which has 2 dimensions. So just let's run it and see what's happening. And then you see we have created a new array based on these 2 arrays. In this case, since this was not at the same length, it just added 0 here at the end of this second array. In this case, we could also use the transpose function. So let's see how this works. We use this on the output here, and then we create a new indicator here. Let's see what's happening if you just so here, make this a little bit bigger, see what's happening here. If you run it, and you see columns and rows has been switched. So in this case, this is the first array and this is the second array. But assume we want to, instead of creating a 2-dimensional array, we want to create a 1-dimensional array where we put these elements in the bottom of this array. Then we can use the same build function, but we can right click on it and select concatenate inputs like this. And then you see now when we create the output here now, right click, create indicator, the output will not be a 2-dimensional array, but it will be a 1-dimensional array. We can run it and you see, so this is the first one, and then it's just add the elements from the second array in the bottom of this one. So we have put values from those 2 arrays into one new array like this. Another array function which is very handy to use is this search 1-dimensional array. It's very handy, especially handy to use when we are dealing with arrays of text. So let's see how we can use this one in an example. So let's just create a new array with some string inputs. We could have just enter some examples. Like this, and then assume we want to search for a specific item. Let's assume we want to search for Ford, and because we are specific interested in this element, then we can use this search one array like this. So just have this as an input. Sorry, it was the wrong array. It was this text or string array like this. And then we can use this element. We can just right click here on element, create a constant, and then we can enter a text here, in this case Ford, and then the output, let's just right click on it, create an indicator, and let's see what happens here when you run it. So in this, using this search one-dimensional array, we have found the specific index of where we can find this Ford text. So it's the, in this case, element number 1, like this. So this function is very handy to use in many cases. So next thing I want to show you is how we can use arrays together with the loops, like for loops and while loops. So let's just create on the structures a for loop like this, and then we can use this array as an input to this for loop. We can just var it to the edge here like this, and then inside here we can just in this example we can just right click and create an indicator, and then you see as outside the while for loop there's this thick line, meaning it's an array, while on the inside it's this thin line, meaning this is just a scalar value. So let's see what's happening here when we run the program, but first we should just enter some timing so we can see what's happening here. Just enter this, use this wait, and in this case we can just create let's say 5000 for 5 seconds in this case, and let's see what's happening when we run this program like this. So first it shows 2, in next iteration after 5 seconds it shows 5, and after 5 new seconds it shows 6, and after 5 new seconds it shows 3, etc. So this is very handy when we want to do some calculations on each element inside an array. Then we can do it like this inside a for loop. So let's assume that we want to use each element in some kind of a formula, so then we can use it inside a for loop like this. So then, assuming you want to just make some simple formula, we can just use multiply each element with just in this example a value, then add this value, just make a very simple formula, something like this. We just want to apply a formula on each element in the array, and then we can have it like this. So let's see what happens now. We can just make it a bit 3 seconds instead, so you can see what's happening. So for each iteration it perform this formula on each of the elements. In this case we typically, instead of showing the value inside the for loop like this, we can typically have the output go to the border of the for loop, and then right click here and create an indicator like this, and then you see we'll get a new array. In this case I just also remove the weight like this, and then you can see what happens when we run this program. Since there was no timer here, it went very fast, and for each element here it applied this formula, and then the values or the result was appearing in this new array like this. So using for loops, while loops together with arrays is a very powerful technique that we will use a lot in LabVIEW programming. So I guess that's all you need to know about arrays in LabVIEW. If you want to learn more about LabVIEW, you can click on this link. Then you go to this web page where you find lots of resources about LabVIEW. You find videos, exercises, example codes, example applications you can download for free on this website. So I guess that's all about arrays in LabVIEW. So good luck with using arrays in LabVIEW and LabVIEW programming.